This is a supplemental video on how to debug shorting issues on fast-track remote switches. The important thing to watch is where does the short occur. This particular short was occurring when the train wheel hit right there where my finger is. Okay, I've already fixed the short, but I'll show you what I did. Note, train wheel now passes over this area without causing a short. So I will now put the phone down, and then I will show you a video on the inside of the switch, what I did to correct the problem. So the piece, the problem with these switches is, in shorting, is usually due to them connections being too tight. The connections for the section of track I showed you in the previous video segment are underneath the switch connector. Take note of where the wires are connected. They can come loose. See these 6 connectors in the center of the screen, right near my fingers? Loosen those. Don't loosen too much. You may have to try a couple of times, but if you loosen those, your shorting problem in the section I showed you earlier will probably go away. You can't be afraid to take apart these switches. The alternative is a lot of warranty returns, because the quality control on these switches is simply not that good. I'll do another video running a train over it after I get it reassembled. This weekend seems to be the battle of the switches with me. I bought 2 switches. I had problems with both. These are Lionel 031 right-hand remote switches. This one had a very unique problem. As the train approaches the switch junction, if the switch bars itself, whatever they're called, are out of position, the switch is supposed to automatically switch the switch into the correct position so the train can pass through. Watch as this train passes through. See my finger is pointing right there? When the wheel touches that on a working switch, it should switch the switch bars, whatever they're called, to the straight through position so the car can pass through. Watch. That's the way it happened. When this switch came in, the exact opposite happened. It would come in like this, and when the wheel would touch, it would go red automatically, and it would derail the cars as they pass through. So what's the problem, you might ask? I'll show you the problem. The switch was manufactured with the connectors in backwards. There's a connector to this section of track and a connector to this section of track that's supposed to trigger the process of automatic anti-derailing features. That in the lower left-hand side of the screen is the connector to the curved part of the track, and the upper left-hand side of the screen is the connector to the straight section. Those connectors were reversed. The switch was manufactured incorrectly. I removed those connectors and switched them, and then the switch began to function normally. Now, this is way beyond above and beyond what you should have to do when you buy a fast track switch from Lionel. All right, now I can fix them. In general, what's going to happen is you're going to buy the switch from a retailer, or you're going to buy on eBay with return capabilities. And I don't recommend buying these switches without the ability to return them on eBay, because if they're no return, you're stuck with fixing it yourself. Now, obviously, I can fix it myself, but the question at hand is whether you should have to fix it yourself. I say no. I work with a retailer in Orlando called Colonial Photo and Hobby. And when I buy the new switches, and I'm not going to be buying very many more switches, I take them apart at the store and I test them. I test them for shorts, you'll see as you saw in the earlier segment, and then I had to debug this situation here. So I would suggest to retailers, to save yourself shipping costs and returns, that you test your switches before you sell your switches. Now that's maybe an undue burden on a large retailer, but it's either that or you're going to get returns. I returned my first switch with a short, and it was a burden on the retailer. Now, I'm going to run through in this video, because it's a repeat of another video I have of continuity testing. It's going to be another segment because I'm going to have to mount the camera. Hello, it's April 15th, very early in the morning, 3:32 a.m. It's tax day. I filed my taxes in February, so I have time to make a video for you. I'm reshooting a video I shot yesterday. I shot it dressed less than modestly, and I appeared in my shorts in the video, which is totally unacceptable to my faith to appear in a video as such. So I'm reshooting this continuity test video. Here's the continuity tester. It cost me about $10 on Amazon. That's the setting symbol you want to test continuity. Let me show you a continuity test. Okay, this is center rail, center rail. There should be continuity between the whole layout. Good tone, fine. What you don't want connectivity on is center island of switch to outer rail. Silence is good. This piece is the most important. Let's adjust the camera more. Okay. Center island should never have connectivity to the outer rail inside the switch. See center rail here. If you have continuity between center rail and this section or this section, you have to open up the switch and make repairs. That's other portions of the video that I have not edited out. Thank you for playing. Back to the editing suite. I know I never get you video of the actual sparking and shorting, because sometimes it takes me hours to diagnose the problem and fix it, and I don't want to be wasting time making video when I need my full concentration. You also may ask, why do I leave the remote controls connected, since I have a Legacy 990 remote controller that can remotely access the switches? And the simple question is, it's a debugging step. When a switch gets jammed and refuses commands, the first thing I do is I go to the switch and run it manually, on and off, red and green. And sometimes that leads me to pull the switch out of the line because there's a physical problem inside the switch. Other times it just wakes the switch up and it starts receiving commands through the air via frequency normally. Anyway, you see all these screws. I'm going to put these screws in, not too tight. Tight screws also can cause problems, but firmly.